Joining us right now on Texans Radio, it's Coach David Culley. Coach, thanks so much for being with us. Yesterday, a tale of two halves. Again, really 3 quarters into the fourth quarter. This is a one-score game. What were some of the things you saw that you really liked, and then what do you think went wrong in that fourth quarter?
Well, first half, I thought Tim was very aggressive with what we were doing. Our guys were executing up front. They were executing all around in the back end. And, things were happening well for us there. We were able to run the ball a little bit there, got some things going. We got some nice explosive plays out of the pass game. Had a couple of little runs that were nice for us there. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing that, you basically can do what we need to do. And Davis and those guys made some plays down the field, and it allowed us to be successful. When you go into the fourth quarter again, or the second half, I thought we were aggressive there. We just did not execute as well, Mark, especially in the fourth quarter. Like you said, it was a one-score ball game. And there were some things that just we had some guys that basically just had an error here or an error there, and then all of a sudden we get behind the chains again. And prior to that, we were above the chains. And then once we did that offensively, we just weren't able to maintain what we needed to do.
Coach, when you're watching film, because I know this used to happen to me, there would be things thrown around the room because you would see 10 guys do everything right, and then you see one guy do something wrong, and yet it just happens to be that guy or that mistake that keeps you from, man, this should have been a 70-yard gain, and it turns into a 2-yard gain. I know that gets frustrating because it feels like it's maybe a different guy every time, but also makes football the greatest sport there is because 11 guys have got to be in concert on every single play. Do you sense that as you're watching that it's kind of like that? Like, man, I've got these 9-10 guys making this play, but it's this right over here that we had to have this one block and this play goes. And it feels like there have been some moments like that. Have you kind of sensed that as you've been watching the tape?
Well, and that's usually going to be the case when you don't have 11 on 11 working with 11.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one not working,
right?
It could turn the whole thing around. But when you have a combination of those kind of things happening and everybody not being on the same page, you said it earlier, the beautiful thing about our game is that being a team game and everybody's involved, no one thing is more important than the other. We all have a role. We all have a part in it. And when we do our part, good things happen. When you don't, it doesn't matter how good the other guy did his part.
Right.
If you don't uphold your end, then it doesn't work for the rest of the team.
Coach, I know you want to limit big plays, and defensively, even though you're hanging in there with the one-score game into the fourth quarter, I know you let some big plays happen, and that has to bother you a bit, yet you were right there despite those.
We were, Mark, but the thing about that is, though, we've talked about that. We went into this ball game knowing that this team had a couple of guys out there that have done this throughout their whole career. They got Russell Wilson there, who when he gets outside of the pocket, they've always gotten big plays with him. But the thing, though, that we didn't do that was very disappointing for us was that we knew going into the game that was going to be an issue. We knew we had to stay on top of those guys, and a couple of times we didn't stay on top of those guys. Going back to what you said, John, earlier about when everybody doesn't do their job and all other 10 is doing their job, it doesn't matter. And what ends up happening is that when you don't all do the job together, then that's what happens. And it's the same thing in the run game with big plays. We had a couple of those in the run game yesterday also too. And the reason they happen is they happen because everybody's not doing their job. Everybody's not being in their gap. There may be 8 of them doing the right thing and 3 aren't. And then what ends up happening is a big play happens. And that's how that happens. And you only prevent that by all 11 being one.
Coach, this isn't making an excuse for anything, but how much did you miss not having Kamu out there after he had gotten hurt?
Well, obviously he's been a big part of this defense. And he's been playing some really, really good football for us. And his leadership.
Yeah.
Not just his play, but his leadership. And obviously it was a blow, but in this business, the next man up, and you move on.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Garrett Wallow make some plays. I mean, I know Christian Kirksey is your guy in there, but Wallow at linebacker. And when you look at the rookies, Coach, they have made some progress here. So what are you seeing from him and some of the other guys who are young players in their first NFL venture?
Mark, with all those rookies that have started to play for us, some obviously earlier than others. Nico obviously was playing early and it's early when he got here. And what you see now after 13 ball games is you see those guys that have been playing for a while are getting better and better. And obviously Garrett's starting to get some more playing time now, and you start to see him show up. He's been on our special teams, but obviously he's playing linebacker for us some now. And obviously what you're starting to see is why we drafted these guys. I mean, these guys are good people, and they're good players, and they're starting to get some playing time now, and they're starting to show why they are here.
Coach, first start for Davis in a few weeks. What did you think of the way that he ran the operation, decision-making he had, how he delivered the ball? What did you think overall of how Davis, after you watched the film, how did you feel about the way Davis played?
Well, I thought overall in the first half, obviously he completed, I guess, the first 14 passes, I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
He was getting the ball where it needed to be gotten, whether it was checking it down or putting the ball down the field. He had it all over the place with everybody, and it was good to see. And I felt like in the second half, though, a little bit, the game kind of got to the point where it wasn't quite as clean as it was in the first half, and that's where the inexperience kind of comes in. You got to be able to still overcome those kind of things when things aren't clean. Right. And I think as he moves forward with him, as he starts to have more of those kind of moments to be able to overcome those things and understand it's not always going to be clean. Right. It was clean for him in the first half. Right. Second half wasn't quite as clean. And so we just got to keep working and getting him to that point where he can handle those situations.
If you just look at the raw numbers, Davis at home is very different from Davis on the road. And I know the competition obviously plays into that. You've played some really tough teams on the road when he started. But here you go to Jacksonville this week, Coach, and they're hungry for a win, and you saw them opening day, and you know each other very well. Now Davis is on the road. What does he need to be aware of in a road environment that's different from being at NRG Stadium?
Well, he's not going to feel that support that he normally feels when you're out there. And when we're on offense and those big plays are happening and you hear those roars go up and it makes you feel good, there's an energy that goes with all that.
Right.
Well, on the road, that energy only comes from those 53 we got down there playing, and from the sideline, and we're nothing like the crowd at home. Our sideline down when we're playing away. So I don't think it'll be an issue for him because he's been on the road before. He's been at some tough places before to play, and I don't think it would be any problem for him at all. I think right now he's just trying to improve, get better. He had a pretty good week this week in practice, and I thought he handled himself well yesterday in the game. And hopefully we just want to get him that first win as a starting quarterback.
Yep.
Apparently I got to make more noise on the sideline.
Yeah, yes you do, John.
To get our sideline
yes,
a little
you do.
louder.
That's right.
Apparently on the road, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that I will do. Coach, Jacksonville, you face him in week 1. Now it's week 15. We on week 15? Is that what it is? Week 15 we're going to? I don't know. It's a long time, I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Both teams have changed a ton from that time. Can you put a lot of stock in what you saw in week 1? Do you put a lot of stock? Will you go back and look and review that game film? Or is that just way too far to even think back to? Like, that's almost a different season in week 1, way back then. How do you kind of look at it with a division game where you've got that much time in between games?
You always go back and use that game simply because they will tell you how they are going to play us in certain type situations.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, you go back and you look at all the other games that they've played and other different opponents since then, is teams that are similar to what we do, formation-wise and play-wise. You go back and look at those games that are teams that are maybe similar to what we do or what we're trying to do, and you'll kind of use those games as a scouting report for them. But we would definitely use the game that we've had before. And we'll look at that one closely, too, because that was a very good one for us.
Yes, it was.
Coach, let's talk running game here for a moment because relatively early on in this game and throughout much of it, Rex Burkhead and the ground game, they're working pretty well at times. You're moving the football. Rex gets hurt. Take us through some of that, because there you have Royce Freeman, who has not exactly been around here forever. You didn't have him in camp, obviously, comes along during the season. How difficult was that for him to acclimate, especially on the fly? And he's your last guy. He's the last house on the left there during the game.
Well, I'll tell you what, he did a nice job for us, and we're so happy we had him here. With Jalen been down with COVID, he was the last man standing.
Right.
And he came in and did a great job for us, and had some tough runs for us, did a nice job, and he's only going to get better.
Coach, with a running back like that, I guess any position really, Royce hasn't been here a long time, and he's the only guy. Do you worry at any point like, oh, my gosh, David's just made a check of the line of scrimmage. Does Royce know what to do? Or are you just, hey, man, we just got to roll. We just got to go. He's the only guy we got. We got to go with this, and whatever happens, happens.
That's exactly right. And plus, too, in that kind of situation, too, with one of the quarterback's job is, too, he knows what everybody does, and he knows what everybody's position. And if there's ever an issue, we always tell him, if you don't know, ask the quarterback.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you what to do. And but he's been a very good. He's picked up what we do offensively very well, and been a good addition for us.
Well, last week we talked about what if you had no quarterbacks left, and we said Brandon Cooks volunteered to be that emergency guy, and he also volunteered to be the emergency running back coach. So I'm not sure how you feel about that, but what would you do if you were down to 0 at that position? Just go 5 wide and sling it?
At back?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's not what we'd want to do, Mark and John. But if that's what we have to do, that's what we'd have to do. Now, quarterbacks and everybody, they love to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But obviously, you kind of do what's available for you to do. And, we actually have empty formations. We got plays where backs aren't in the backfield, where they're out wide. And if you got a wide receiver doing that, it's all the same. So basically, if we got to that point, we'd have to do that.
Brandon Cooks, Coach, we were just obviously talking about him, and not just because he would volunteer to play any position, but it doesn't matter what the score of the game is. You throw him a quick screen, down 33-13, he's trying to get every inch that he can. How valuable is he as a leader for your team at this point?
Well, I'll tell you what, his leadership is critical, not only for just the team, but for the young guys on this football team, and understanding that this is what a true professional football player is all about. It doesn't matter what role he has. It doesn't matter what you ask him to do. He's going to do what's best for your football team. He's going to do everything. He'll be unselfish about anything. It's not about catches with him. It's about winning football games. It's about doing what's best for the football team. And for our young guys on this football team, you couldn't have a better mentor than having someone like him do that.
Coach, with Fairbairn's 61-yard field goal, team record, personal best for him, good risk-reward situation, right? Because you have only a few seconds left, and they put Metcalf back deep, but were you thinking, hey, if he misses it, he's missing long anyway. He's going to get it there one way or another, right?
Right, exactly right. And with only 4 seconds left, we knew that they weren't going to get the ball back.
Yep.
So, and I knew Frank had already said he's got the leg, and he was very pumped. First of all, he looked at me when I asked Frank. Frank says, Coach, you can kick it here? Yeah, kick it. And then he got all excited. So I says, well, then go kick it. But I had the utmost confidence in him to do that. And I tell you what, too, that field goal was a big boost for us going in at halftime. Such a big momentum swing for us.
Go ahead, John.
Because I probably had the same question you have, Mark. Did you think in the third quarter, was it? It would have been about 59 yards. Did you want him to kick it there too, or did you in your mind think about punting and you were just trying to get them to jump off sides and give you 5 yards?
Yeah, we was trying to basically just kind of get a penalty on it right there, at that point, because we didn't want to have leave them a field position and that kind of thing.
Because that time they do have the ball and can get it right there. It's a little different situation. He's kicking off the logo. It's not as clean. But did you give a thought? Boy, he made 61. Boy, he could knock this one home. This might give us a little bit more juice.
Heat check.
Yeah, heat check. This is a 35-footer from the logo.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. But at that point, we just felt like that probably wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Coach, with the roof open yesterday, and you see on a day like yesterday, not a cloud in the sky, that sunshine coming in from about the 15, 20 in, and then changing as the day goes on. What were your thoughts about the roof being open, whether it was sun or wind or whatever other factors would come into play?
It was the first time Mark, I've ever been in a stadium with it open.
Right.
It was my first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a little different. Now, we actually practiced with it open on Saturday, so I kind of got a feel. But I do remember this, though, having been open here with it.
Right.
I walk out, and I'm in that far end zone down there, and all of a sudden I see the sun.
Yeah.
Sitting there saying, I've never seen a sun in this stadium,
Yeah.
the sun was beaming down, and obviously it became an issue with fielding punts or fielding a kickoff where you couldn't actually see. As a matter of fact, they had a couple of kickoffs that he was actually going to bring him out, but he lost the ball. He couldn't see
Tremont,
it. Right. Yeah. So, but it was really a neat to have it open. It was really neat, and it was just a whole different feel and a different experience. And I could kind of see where people would kind of like having that thing open.
Coach, and knowing that the roof is going to be open, you got a feeling the weather is going to be pretty good, because if it's not, they'll close it and we'll just play in dome conditions. But how often are you checking the weather as we get ready for a road game? Like, this is Jacksonville. I've already got obviously I worry about it because, we're going to get poured on the sidelines. That's probably a different reason for you. But how often are you checking the weather to make sure you got the right equipment, you got the right shoes, we've got the right this, we got the right that? How often do you kind of maintain that and look at the weather and what kind of game it might be? Because if it's rainy and sloppy, okay, we might need to do these things. How often do you kind of check that through the week?
That's delegated, right, Coach?
It's delegated and it's checked every day and every minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about, we know exactly
Dopplers and stuff like that.
All of that stuff, which I've seen him show me, Coach, this is what's going to happen today. And I see those dots and those kind of things. I said, so what does this mean? I mean, I have no idea. He says, Coach, that's rain. I said, that's rain? Yeah. And it's not here yet, but it'll be here in about 2 hours,
Yeah.
So all those kind of things are really, it's very great information to have, but we're always on top of that. And it does make a difference, you know.
You guys love the rain, though, now, right? After what happened last time on the road.
That's exactly right.
John,
That's exactly right.
Listen, if I got to go through that rain to get a W, fine.
Yeah.
Tsunami it is. I don't care.
35% chance right now, by the way.
Well, listen, Mark and John, I don't care what it does.
Yeah.
We just get the wind. It can rain. It can snow, whatever it is.
Exactly.
We're ready for it.
Amen.
Coach, I know it's a week-to-week thing, and every week is its own season, if you will. As we get later into the season, what do you notice about the players, and how do you back off or handle things differently? And I know we talk about this from time to time, but here you are with 4 weeks to go, and it's getting late in a 17-game schedule.
Yeah, well, you have to back off a little bit. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, we've been going since, middle of July.
Right.
And, I mean, you get to that point where you want to be as fresh as you can be. Guys are tired. You got nicks and aches and pains, and, your record's not what you wanted it to be. But there's so much pride with this football team that basically we just know, what do we have to do to go out and get ready to win the football game? And you basically at this point, because we've been playing for so long, been practicing for so long, is that you want them as fresh as possible right now. And in order to do that, you got to back off some things. We don't do quite as much. We get what we need to get done, but just enough to make sure that we're still fresh and ready to go in the next game.
With all the data you have on these players, I know at practice you can tell how fast they're running versus, hey, in October you were running this speed and now you're running this. That's got to be very strange to factor into the equation, not just the eyeball test.
It is, but I'll tell you what, those guys are a team of guys that do those things in our strength and conditioning staff. They do a great job of staying on top of that every day. It's almost like it never stops. I mean, I'm talking about as soon as those players walk in and start to head to that field, any kind of activity that they do is recorded, it's monitored, and you know exactly where they are. You know exactly. And that also helps, too, with the injury factors. It also helps from a standpoint of knowing how much we need to do or how much we can't do as far as setting up our practices. So all that data is very, very important for us.
Coach, back in the day, there was a quarterback, when he got to the league, he did a lot more than just quarterback, and they called him Slash, Cordell Stewart. I kind of refer to Slash now when I look at the injury report because it'll be such and such, and it'll be ankle / wrist. Can you encapsulate how banged up guys are in the NFL at this point of the year? And the only thing that I could think of, because somebody asked me that the other day, and I said, well, if the beginning of the year is just sort of you're cruising on 59, or I guess it's now 69, and you're just going, feeling fine, as opposed to now it's like you're in a demolition derby, how you would feel just going through all those different car crashes. That's about the difference. Over the years that you've seen it, how do you kind of encapsulate what guys actually feel like at the end of the year?
They're tired. I mean, they're very tired, but they also understand that, this is a grind.
Yeah.
And you get to that point where, when that grind hits, you just got to keep going. You got to just make sure you're taking care of your body. You got to take care of yourself much better to be able to play at the level that you've been playing. Because if you don't, then those kind of little things will end up affecting your performance. They'll end up affecting you, possibly getting little injuries, and that's why it's so important to stay on top of those things.
How hard is it to coach players who have whatever ailment, though, Coach? Because some guys might feel like, hey, I'm only 80%, but 80% of that player might still be a really good player, and you have to sort of gauge that, and they have to gauge that for themselves as well.
Well, you just got to make sure that it's dependent on the player. Like you said, that 80% may be better than most 100%.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you just got to make sure that they can play the game
right
at that percentage, and make sure that they can get the job done and doing that. And a lot of guys, a lot of time this year, they're not going to be healthy completely. When I say healthy, because they're not going to feel just right now. It at this point in the year, nobody feels really, really good. That's why you got those hot tubs and cold tubs and everything after practicing there to be able to take care of that. But that's part of the grind, and there's all kind of things that our training staff has for them to be able to recover, to be able to take care of their bodies. And it's not just that too. Nutrition is so important. Their sleep is so important at this time of year.
How about the coaches, though, Coach? Because you have to coach them as well. So you're managing your managers, if you will, and there has to be a wear and tear effect on them as well. Maybe not physically, but mentally.
Well, there is a wear and tear, but the wear and tear we have is a little different than the wear and tear they have.
Yeah.
The wear and tear we got is more or less just a time factor and a mental factor. Where those is more physical, mental. They get it all. But for us, I mean, whatever the grind this time of year, it's always a grind for us. Whether it's the first game of the year or the last game of the year, it's the same for us every day we come in here. We expect it. That's what it's going to be about. And of course, I don't know anything else.
Right.
I just know that's just part of what we do.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did holiday shopping, Coach? Because you've been in this game a long time, college and pro, and I got to think there's no time to do anything like that. So how do you get through that part of things?
Well, you know what? It's just, my wife takes care of all those kind of things. I really don't even know when holidays are here, other than Thanksgiving. I do know when Thanksgiving is here just because of the food. But for the most part, I mean, every day is just the same for us, Christmas Day sometimes. People are playing on Christmas Day, people are practicing on Christmas Day. We'll be practicing on Christmas Day this year because we play the next day here. And so, that's just part of it. You kind of, some things you got to give up to get in this business.
Does the wife get to buy her own present? Is that how you handle that?
Oh, let me tell you something. She can buy whatever she wants to buy,
Yeah.
That is so well said.
Yeah.
That is so well said by a husband.
Yeah.
She can buy whatever she wants.
Full credit.
Yeah, very
Full
well
credit.
said. I know we went to Indy. This was, 5-6 years ago. And, there are different places you stay at Indy, but you can stay where you're connected to the mall.
Right.
And we played, I think, the 20th. I think this was 15. And I'm walking through, and I see one of our Texans employees. He's got like 5 bags, and he was like, "I knew we were going to Indy, and this is where I did all my Christmas shopping."
That's right.
He did it at the
mall there. That's exactly right.
You're like an hour
we don't
to
have
do
Indy
it.
this week, and I don't know if you want to go to the town center in Jacksonville, Coach.
One more for you, Coach. There was a homecoming this week. That was the concept of the game, and a lot of former Texans players were there, the Texans legends. Jonathan Joseph was the home field advantage captain. It got me thinking, when's the last time that you were able to do something like that at Vanderbilt? Because we talked about it when we played the Titans that, you weren't going to have any time to do much Vanderbilt stuff. Obviously, it's a business trip. But was there a time where you could go back to campus and celebrate and be acknowledged or feel the vibe of being back on campus?
Not during the season.
Yeah, never.
Not during the season at all. There has been times where during a bye week that if it falls right if there's an activity going on. I have gone back during a bye week to actually watch a football game, and to see old friends and old buddies, But that rarely ever happens, and sometimes it doesn't fall that way. As a matter of fact, you speaking of that with bye weeks and those kind of things, is I know the Army-Navy game was on yesterday. I was in Philly for like maybe 12 years and never got to see an Army-Navy game.
Oh, wow.
We happened to have a bye one week. I mean, when the Army-Navy game, and I got to go to an Army-Navy game, and I'm telling you, it was one of the most unbelievable experiences I've ever had at a college football game.
Really?
To see Army-Navy, just the pageantry, the pride, and to me, I said, this is what college football is all about.
So your expectations going in versus what you saw coming out, I mean, completely different, or did you kind of – because everybody tells me, look, the pageantry, you'll always love it. But they're like, if you love college football, which I do, you've got to go see this. Did it far exceed the expectations you had going in, Coach?
Far exceeded expectations. Wow. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
You have to explain. Nobody could have explained what I experienced.
Yeah.
You couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And when I was watching part of that game Saturday, I mean, it hit me that I was at one of those games in Philly, and it was cold too, but enjoyed every minute. Also bought an Army towel and a Navy towel. So I wanted to make sure, that I didn't offend anybody.
Coach, thanks a lot for being with us. Good luck
You're
this
welcome.
week.
Thank you.